against this right back, Charlie, definitely.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. People deluded, I'm back again. Big up to you lot, whether you're on Twitter, Twitch or YouTube. Please make sure you're cross-following on all platforms and you're smashing the like button. Now, we know we've got Calafori through the door. Apparently, the Mikel Moreno deal, courtesy of Fabrizio Romano, some of you would have seen it's moving closer. There's a bit of, obviously, transfer news to come as well, people that will go over with some of the tabloids. Eddie Nketiah and Marseille. Doesn't feel like there's been any significant progress, but it seems like we're moving closer. Where Reece Nelson's concerned, it looked like he could be one of the first players during our American leg of our pre-season preparations out the door. Doesn't seem like Leicester City are keen to spend whatever the asking price is, people. And some of you already know, or in fact, the majority of you already know, we lost to Liverpool 2-1 yesterday. On that, I've done a review of that game, and commiserations to Arsenal, congratulations to Liverpool. Pardon me, I think there's a couple of talking points, if I'm honest. I'd say the first one is we need a clinical goal scorer, because in the first half, we did have half chances that we didn't take. We were poor defensively, take nothing away from Liverpool. We gave them 2 chances and they showed why they're a great club, because they killed us for it. The second half was a better reaction. We dominated, I believe, and suffocated Liverpool, but we didn't ask the keeper any questions. I do think, a lot of fans are dishonest when you speak about certain players, depending on what side of the fence, whether it's the positive toxic kind of fan or the negative fan. I think people are lying about Kai Havertz's performance. Yes, he scored. He wasn't terrible, but nothing of note there. The same says for Thomas Partey. I think the only ones that I really think did something I think Fabio Vieira was better off the bench, but it was more of a typical Fabio Vieira performance where there's some good moments and some bad ones. I think Odegaard was quality. I think Lewis Skelly was great off the bench, and I'd extend that to Trossard. Gabriel Jesus continues to show what he's on. He's great at everything else apart from putting the ball in the back of the net. I think Martinelli was trying to be a bit too cute and clever yesterday. So yeah, that's why we lost to Liverpool. But crucially, there's more minutes in the legs there, man. I didn't watch the Liverpool game, busy sleeping. How was the game? Well, you probably obviously caught the comments that I was speaking about in that regards. And apart from that, nothing more. I mean, Zinchenko, he's unfortunately, if you're Mohamed Salah, you look at Zinchenko and you can't believe your luck that you're against him each and every time, consistently taking him on. And unfortunately, everybody fancies it with Zinchenko because he's not switched on as a defender. He's going to leave a lot of space, doesn't follow runners, and isn't a great defender in that. And I don't think, he's to blame for the goal alone, but he's not aware of Salah's run. Obviously, Kivior's over covering. Gabriel's gone tight. Everybody is quite terrible, and if I'm completely honest with you, no clue that why there wasn't penalties, but it was given. So there's always something to learn. And I feel based on the games in America, again, we haven't got our key players and our strongest team, but I think I've actually been quite disappointed with the defensive performances generally. Yes, we've scored goals and we've turned it on occasions, but I think there's a lot more to be said in that regards. Obviously we need a striker, in my opinion. Do I think we're going to go out and get a striker? Probably not. Yes, we're linked with Gyökeres. We're still vaguely even linked with Ivan Toney and Osimhen, even though I think many Arsenal fans don't expect us to get these kind of signings over the line. Big up yourself, Kay. Big up yourself, ginger bearded one. What a name. So if that being said, that's all I've really got to say where the game is concerned, people. But if we look at some of the transfer news and we get straight into it, again, some of you would have seen a video I posted earlier today. Fabrizio Romano, just basically last night before the game went live between Liverpool and Arsenal, said Arsenal are closing in on Mikel Moreno deal as verbal agreement is now getting closer. Agreement in place on personal terms as Merino wants to move. Verbal discussions with Real Sociedad for a package in excess of 30 million euros. Talks on to get a deal done. Me, I'm for it. He can play as a 6 and an 8. He's actually played with Odegaard before. If this is the man Mikel Arteta wants, great. The first thing that attracts me is his durability. He's played over 40 games last season for Sociedad. And again, we need to tread carefully because life is funny, but he's got a near enough faultless injury record. The best quality you can have is being available. With him obviously being 28, he's got a number of years left. He's not the youngest. And obviously the fact that he could play 40 games, that's someone that could be more of a long-term partner for Declan Rice, makes us even more able to cope with the burden of Thomas Partey picking up an injury, and also makes us allowed to be a bit cute and clever with Thomas Partey and managing his fitness. And you could also extend that to Jorginho as well, if I'm completely honest. You would imagine that Mikel Moreno is going to play on the left-hand side, along with probably Calafori, and we need some stability on the left-hand side, so that could be a mark in the right direction. Declan Rice will move over to the right, so you've probably got Declan Rice, Saliba, Benjamin White, Odegaard, Pills over there, and Saka. So for me, it means we're less lopsided. I don't quite agree with, some of these fitness gurus saying, or transfer market gurus saying, oh, we've outsmarted the market. How have we outsmarted the market? We're just doing competent things. I'm not downplaying it, but if he's someone that Arteta believes in, he's available for 30 million euros. He's got a year left on his deal. He's got a wealth of experience. He's played in a number of countries. Obviously, his homeland, Spain, previously been with Newcastle. While he's not held in high regards to the footballing community in the Premier League, he knows what the Premier League's about, and has obviously been at Sociedad and doing his thing, in which when we was linked with Zubamendi, Kieran Tierney being on loan there, we have to have done our due diligence on what this player can be for us. And again, you look at when we brought Jorginho, when we brought Trossard, there are exceptions to the general recruitment rule. While he's 28 and people always say, oh, you're too old and things, there's a sense of urgency. I'm not saying the younger players are messing about, but if you're Saka, again, your career will flash like that. But if you're Saka, Saliba, Benjamin White, Ethan, and these younger players, there's, you've got a number of years left. He's 28, turning 29. You've got a sense of urgency. You're very much living for the present. This is probably, quote unquote, your last chance to get a decent contract to maybe try and win significant honors. So the fact that he's got a year left on his deal, it makes sense for us, in my opinion. Big up DG in the nation. How good was MLS performance? Twitter were raving about his performance. Didn't really have any real minutes to really showcase his talent. But as I said, man, I think when I look past Odegaard, I think he did well, man. He's playing inverted left back. He did everything Zinchenko didn't, which is actually being strong 1v1 and having a willingness to be switched on defensively. He looked quite good with passing the ball. And he looks like, not that I think he's ever looked like he's lacked belief, but now he genuinely looks like, okay, I can play at this level. So a good, competent performance, man. And whether he's going to be a long-term inverted left back under Mikel Arteta or central midfielder, you hope him and Ethan are given opportunities. You'd imagine next season is Ethan's breakthrough campaign in some degree, man. Josh, big up yourselves. So yeah, man, hopefully the Moreno one gets over the line to go with Calafori. Also on that, Romano said, Arsenal are close to signing Mikel Moreno. Arsenal have an agreement with the player. So Moreno said yes to Arsenal, despite all the possibilities he had on the market. He's been linked with several clubs. Negotiations are now underway between Arsenal and Sociedad. The player is tempted by working under Mikel Arteta. Now they need to finalize the agreement at the moment. Everything is verbal communication between Arsenal and Sociedad, waiting to make it formal. So it's stepping in the right direction, but it's all verbal. We need it on writing, because that's the only way, things are agreed. People have medical, and ultimately he's into Arsenal Football Club and he's an Arsenal player. Arsenal are really getting closer to reaching an agreement for a package worth more than 30 million euros for Moreno. So crucially, it's gone from 20 to 30 million euros to more than 30 million. So that tells me that Arsenal are going to do probably what we did with Lucas Torreira, where we'll commit to a deal that we may even pay you a bit more, but we stretch the payments out over a long time. And to be fair with you, if they get more than the reported asking price for a player that's apparently the Sociedad chairman, said, because we've been covering it, has had an offer on the table and hasn't signed it, they're doing well. At the end of the day, Sociedad need to sell the player. They could wake up and he wants to stay at the football club, but he's been linked with Barcelona, Arsenal, Atletico, Chelsea, probably some other clubs sniffing around as well. You can make a case of it spoiling in the United Kingdom, but you can make a case of several clubs interested in signing such people. If you haven't hit the like button, make sure you're doing such. So yeah, that's what Romano has said. And fellow journalists are saying Mikel Moreno will be an Arsenal player, with the club reaching an agreement with Real Sociedad worth 30 million euros plus bonuses. An official announcement should take place in the next days. And let's see what the Mirror have said. Arsenal agree personal terms. So if we've got a verbal agreement with Sociedad and personal terms, we just need to make that crucial breakthrough. You'd imagine once Smith Rowe's deal, if not today, some point this week, is made official where Fulham's concerned, because you've seen him do a medical. Allegedly, he's been seen flying to Portugal. we can start to make things happen. But Arsenal are closing in on the signing of the 28-year-old Real Sociedad midfielder Mikel Moreno after completing the capture of the highly coveted Bologna centre-back / left-back, actually, Ricardo Calafiori. Arsenal in the process of finalising the 25 million signing of Real Sociedad midfielder Mikel Moreno after club-to-club talks entered key stages. The 28-year-old Spain international, who helped fire Spain to Euro 2024 glory in Germany earlier this summer, looks set to become Arsenal's second high-profile capture of the window following the 42 million arrival of Calafiori. The Gunners have now submitted a verbal proposal worth 25 million plus bonuses for the former Newcastle maestro Merino, who has now entered the final year of his current deal. Smash the like button, people in the Basque Country. After laying the groundwork for a deal during a series of productive conversations with the players' reps over the past few weeks. And again, I'm not too sure on when he's scheduled to technically return to Sociedad, whether he's going to be there or not, but you'd imagine he's currently on holiday. So could it be like the Calafiori deal, when his holidays are over, this accelerates? Be nice to wake up tomorrow and we've signed him. Be nice to see him and Calafiori in, well, Calafiori's in, but you get the point, in for the Emirates Cup games and so on and so forth. Sociedad are now prepared to sanction the transfer after Moreno rejected the chance to sign fresh terms with the La Liga club, and sources suggest Arsenal's bid is considered acceptable even if a total agreement is yet to be reached. Personal terms have already been agreed between the Gunners and Moreno, who has also attracted interest from Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. Big up yourself, Shax. We need to do this deal much quicker than the Calafiori deal. Why is that? Because it seems like whether other clubs are interested or not, until you get the deal done and signed over the line, anything can happen. But it seems like he's given us his word. That's how Arsenal tend to operate. And he's keen to sign for the club. And we just got to let the process. Atletico Madrid allegedly never made an offer and are now prioritizing the signing of Chelsea's Conor Gallagher, while fellow transfer rivals Barcelona remain short of cash as they continue to focus their efforts on landing Dani Olmo and Nico Williams, handing Arsenal a 3-1 at Merino. To be fair, I'd love to see us get in on Dani Olmo. If Martin Odegaard's not going to be given the number 10 shirt, that would be a good signing. Nico Williams, it's reported it looks likely he'll stay at Bilbao. Sociedad, who have a great relationship with Arsenal following the loan signing of left-back Kieran Tierney last summer, have already begun work on sourcing a replacement for the departing midfield dictator. Croatian talent Lukas Sukic is set to move to their stadium from Red Bull Salzburg, while PSG's Carlos Soler is also a player of interest to Sociedad. Now, that's interesting because Soler has been linked with Atletico Madrid, but apparently West Ham are in the case. So if something goes wrong with that player, could that have a knock-on effect for Arsenal? If all goes to plan, Arsenal prepared to exchange documents with their Spanish counterparts by the end of the week. Bearing in mind it's Friday tomorrow. Happy new month, by the way, people. Hope August is filled with whatever you lot are seeking, and most importantly, great health. Once they have agreed on a payment structure and finalized the add-ons included with a potential agreement. Fair enough. And what would we give our transfer dealing so far? Because we've got Calafiori. We can't include Moreno until it's done, but if you get that done, I'm sure we'd all want a winger and a striker, so we mark it down. You know, Amari Hutchinson, we've been given some money there. Lokonga's gone. Tavares is gone. Kivio, we still don't know. Zinchenko, we still don't know. Nelson and Nketiah, for all the links, they haven't gone anywhere at this moment in time. Smith Rowe's about to bring £35 million into the club or something like that. And I'm probably missing out some. You'd imagine Charlie Patino, who has seen younger Haaland talents in Ethan and Miles, who can play in central midfield, travel to America. You've not gone anywhere. So I think that tells you where his future lies, people. I'm on Moreno. As I said, he's durable. I think he's competent as an 8 and a 6. He's experienced. He doesn't break the bank. You know, you look at his aerial duels, he'd be an issue for other teams from set pieces, and would also be good in the middle of the park. Again, I'd imagine there's one midfielder in. If Partey and Jorginho leave next summer, then you probably bring another midfielder or two in there. Arsenal's work in the transfer market is by no means over, even if they land Moreno, whose imminent arrival has been triggered by Fulham's club record £34 million deal to sign attacking midfielder Emil Smith Rowe. We also let Mika Beref go. Arteta and Edu still remain open to strengthening an attack, even though a lucrative swoop for a big-name striker such as Victor Gyökeres and Victor Osimhen still seems somewhat unlikely at this stage. I mean, Osimhen, clearly you're available, but Napoli have, you know, the rates are too high. For Gyökeres, if Sporting Lisbon are keen to do business at a quote-unquote realistic kind of fee, away from his 100 million euros, so about 80 odd million release clause, then things can happen, people. A wide player to provide extra support for Saka, Martinelli, Trossard remains of great appeal, even though a deal could be dependent on the future of Nelson, which remains doubtful. So I think we need to bring in a wide man anyways. That's better than what we have in theory and can provide competition. But would the club say, do you know what, Nelson, you know, we're not going to buy a midfield, we're not going to buy someone for that position until Nelson goes, and simultaneously, Nelson, you might not be allowed to leave unless we bring someone in. Leicester and West Ham have both allegedly held initial talks for the former Hoffenheim loanee Nelson, but Arsenal are yet to receive bids from either club, though they remain open to a sell at the right price. And big up Dan Potts, we was doing a stream where you look at Eddie Nketiah and Reece Nelson. I agree with giving them new contracts, not to let money walk out the door. It's been reported Eddie Nketiah is on 100 grand. I don't know for Reece Nelson, but could their wages on top of Arsenal wanting a transfer fee, could that be what's putting the spanner in the works with letting them go? I don't know. On top of evidently the asking price, which Leicester are not keen on paying for Nelson, whatever that is, that could be anything from 10 to 15 to 20 million. I'm not a fan of what Marseille are bidding for Eddie Nketiah, 16 million euros or about 20 million. I think we could definitely get 25, 30 if I'm honest with you. Why have we focused on attack lastly? I don't get it. To be fair, defense wins titles, and I think we've got a defense that could do that, but attack wins games, and we've been winning a lot of games. But I think I speak for everyone. I'm a broken record. We'd love a winger and a striker. If you can get one or the other, probably a winger, in my opinion, whoever that is, I don't know. It's something to kind of move with, man. So we're going to have to really and see. I really want that attacker. You're not alone. Big up DG, smash the likes, people. Bring me Gyökeres and a winger, and we don't. I'm not sure on the second part, but I hear that, if I'm honest. I think everyone's in agreement. Arsenal are also yet to agree a fee with Marseille for striker Eddie Nketiah after the French giant submitted a fresh offer. Nketiah wants to move, but the Gunners aren't prepared to sell the Hayland Academy grad on the cheap. So is it a thing where maybe Eddie Nketiah, a bit like with Aaron Ramsdale, because it doesn't seem like anyone's keen to pay his asking price? Could you loan out Eddie Nketiah and Aaron Ramsdale under the premise of, you know, they could put themselves in the shop window in a year from now, a bit like, not the same, but a bit like what Balogun's loan was designed to do, or Mika Bereth recently, then we've got something to discuss in that regards. Apparently, Arsenal and Sociedad are very, very close to finding an agreement. The players wanted by Arteta, the package will be something like 30 million euros. Moreno is expected to be the second summer signing after Calafiori, allegedly, Romano said on YouTube. And Team News and Tix has said Arsenal are in negotiations with Real Sociedad regarding Mikel Moreno to get the best deal possible, and it's viewed as an easy deal to do by the club. Mikel Arteta personally pushed strongly for the move and was insistent that Merino was the player to bring in. Fair enough. I'd love to know what happened on the Martin Zubamendi case then. Once again, journalists are saying he will be an Arsenal player. An announcement should occur in the next coming days. Mikel Arteta has betted on him heavily. The insistence of Arteta and the economic and sporting offer of Arsenal have been strong enough to convince Moreno. I mean, if there's not a player in the same vein of Declan Rice that we can go and get to raise the ceiling, then raise the floor. We were linked with Gomares. I think everybody would love him. Gonna cost way too much. It isn't gonna happen. Douglas Luiz has gone to Juventus. Coop Miners, it doesn't seem we're keen on. What other midfielders were we linked with? We were linked with Yusuf Fofana, who apparently is rejecting a move to West Ham. Nothing's happened in that regard. You'd imagine Fofana of Monaco would kind of be the same kind of fee Mikel Moreno would be. And I think people are being a bit harsh on Mikel Moreno. Respectfully, I think he's a competent, confident, and consistent signing. I'm not going to wax lyrical when some people are going to say it's outsmarting the market and all of that jazz. I think you're just a good player to bring in. But his problem is you're not a sexy blockbuster kind of signing, so people aren't going to necessarily be moved by it. But we don't need to be moved by it. We just need the right players. Once again, Arteta's insistence and the project at Arsenal have been enough to allegedly convince Moreno to join the club, and Mikel Arteta has been the one pushing for his fellow Spaniard. As I said, Fabrizio Romano simultaneously did say, people, that Real Sociedad are in advanced talks to sign Carlos Soler. He's the replacement wanted for Mikel Moreno, who's expected to join Arsenal if all goes to plan. So is it a case where Sociedad make progress over Soler, we make progress with getting Smith Rowe out, and then naturally where Moreno's concerned, things begin to take shape and take course? I'm not too sure, people. And where you look at his duels won last season, he was first with 326 people, which is, you know, first out of the, you know, everybody from 1 to 10th. You know, he's done more than Paulinho in that regards, Bruno Gomares. didn't expect Mohamed Kudus to be up there, but fair enough. Now, some of that is obviously going to be biased because, respectfully to Sociedad, you're not going to probably be on the front foot as much as a Real Madrid and Arsenal, and Manchester City, and things of that ilk. So naturally, you're going to have less jewels to probably compete in. But bring him to the carpet, man. I think it's a decent signing, man. And where you look at where he compares with Declan Rice, if it will load people, shots near enough even, chances created. Obviously, Declan Rice playing for Arsenal Football Club was more, is going to be on the front foot a lot more. So he's going to probably win in terms of chances created. The best way of looking at this would be assuming Moreno signed for us and they both played 38 games, looking at it a year from now. Tackles, Declan Rice has had to make less tackles because of what I'm talking about. So Moreno's there. Moreno takes his man on a lot more than Declan Rice, and he's less conservative. I'd say if there was one criticism of Declan Rice, in which I'm not criticizing him, sometimes I think he's a bit too hesitant on the ball, and I still think he's got that conservative number 6 muscle memory to just kind of play the safe pass, which I'm not necessarily against people. Aerial duel success, he's quite that way in front, really, where he's compared to Declan Rice. Duels one, he's had to compete in more duels, but he's quite there. Ground duel success, Declan Rice has done better. Interceptions, he's done a lot better. And Mikel Moreno's done well for ball recoveries. All I'm seeing is, imagine combining them two in the middle of the park in the Premier League with Odegaard, who Odegaard is the conductor. He's the creative hub of the team, but he does well in terms of within his skill set of winning the ball back and pressing and whatnot. We've got a decent midfield. You keep Partey fit. You've got Jorginho. We can move with that. I'm not moved by it. I'd love Bruno Gomares, or I'd love 2 central midfielders. I'd love Mikel Moreno and Gomares, but that's probably dream chasing. So I don't think it's the worst, people, if I'm honest with you. DG, before the Euros, we was linked with a move for Moreno. So get it done, man. One more forward and I'm happy. I have great expectations of our boys this season. We have to go for the league and go as far in the champs as we can. At the very minimum, the FA and League Cup need to be picked up. Shout out yourself, Marcel. Congratulations to your team once again. One more winger like Trossard, experience to cover / elevate Saka. How would he elevate Saka? Who are these experienced strikers? I mean, experienced inside forwards. Who really is there? We've been linked with Sane. I don't think anybody buys that. I think that's a link purely because of his history with Mikel Arteta at City and his contract. Mohamed Kudus can play out there. We ain't been linked with him again. We have Bakayoko of PSV is a bit more raw, still been linked. Pedro Neto, it's well known we've got a long-term interest in him. I don't know if Arsenal are going to go for him. I think everybody and their nan will be interested in Nico Williams, but it seemed like Barcelona were the front runners, and then at a point PSG, in fact, and now it looks like he might stay at Bilbao. Now, what's reported in the papers and what's actually going on in the world of football, as you lot know, are very different things. We just need to sign another attacking option and we're good. Ideally, I don't know who, but someone who could play on the left and right would be great for me. I think we can move with that, really. Don't know who that would be. I would love a striker. I wouldn't be against Gyökeres, but I don't think the club will do it. But if you're not 100% convinced on a striker, then there's no point signing one. And we're kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't in that regards. The dream would be Isaac, but as I said, it's a dream. West Ham have joined the race to sign Carlos Soler from PSG. So could that potentially indirectly have a knock-on effect of what we're doing in the market? Probably not, because regardless, Moreno has a year left on his deal. Somebody's offering you 30 million euros for a player that's got a year left. You're kind of in a position of weakness, if I'm completely honest. Whether it's Arsenal or elsewhere, you'd imagine he's keeping it moving. Allegedly, Arsenal agreed personal terms with 80 million euro rated attacking target. Arsenal are looking to improve their attacking options this summer, and they've identified Sporting striker Victor Gyökeres as a target. The 26-year-old striker has been in outstanding form since joining the Portuguese club, and he scored 43 goals in all comps last season. The striker chipped in with 15 assists along the way as well. That's crazy. 43 goals and 15 assists. I don't know if he'll ever replicate that, but if he scored half of those goals and got half the assists, it would still be great. But people would still say you had a purple patch one season wonder. And I'm a bit conflicted with strikers generally, because I do believe you look at the striker market, it's dead. The strikers you want, they're going to cost lots of money. Whether we're going to do that is another thing. But what I would say is that's me saying it as a football fan. We're not watching and scouting and looking through these leagues, and strikers emerge all the time. When we was linked with Vlahovic, he had to have been somewhere. Gyökeres 18 months ago, I don't think anybody was talking about signing for Arsenal. Sporting saw him at Coventry and said, you know what, you might be all right. Let's grab you. So could there be some unknown targets? I'm not sure. I personally think we're going to park off the striker. If there is another sort of Sesko deal where there's an encouragement to get a deal done, which evidently didn't happen, we might revisit it. DS, shout out yourself. West Ham focusing on Somerville, so Soler probably will still go to Sociedad. Osman links to us. I don't buy the Osman links really and truly. I think there's an admiration, but I just think the wages, Napoli are playing hardball. I think that's where it's over. If anything, he's linked with a kind of swap deal involving Lukaku to Chelsea, the most out of everything, if I'm honest with you. So we'd all love to sign Gyökeres. Whether we're able to do it's another thing. This is said it'd be interesting to see if Arsenal are willing to pay up. They will need to bring in top quality players if they want to beat City to the league in the upcoming campaign. They have missed out on the league in the last 2 seasons. Thanks for reminding us. And Arsenal will be desperate to go all the way this time around. It remains to be seen how the situation develops. Meanwhile, the Swedish striker will be tempted to move to the Premier League as well. Arsenal are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Arsenal are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Arsenal are one of the biggest clubs in the world. So nice, I had to say it thrice. And the opportunity to play for them can be hard to turn down. The striker will certainly be excited about the possibility of playing in the Premier League. Arsenal will be able to provide him with the platform to compete at the highest level, and he would get to fight for the league title with them. The striker is likely to improve with coaching and experience, and he could develop into a key player for the club. I'm for that, and I'm not knocking Kai Havertz or Gabriel Jesus. I think personally, you can't rule out Gabriel Jesus having a big part of this season. I don't even think on paper you can rule him out playing on the left with Kai up front and Saka on the right. But what I would say is there's a lot of unanswered questions. I sound like a broken record. City, we score goals for fun. The last 2 years we've scored goals, but we don't know who is going to score goals. We haven't got a Haaland. Now, I'm not asking for Haaland. I'd love that. What I mean by that is, if Liverpool are in a title race, you've got Salah. He's not a striker, but he's getting 20-odd league goals. Spurs previously had Harry Kane. They're not a title winning side, but you get the point. City have Haaland. What do we have? We've got players with the capacity to score, but who is going to get those goals? Anyone beyond Bukayo Saka, if you're wholeheartedly betting on them, you're lying to yourself. I like the way Kai Havertz ended the season, definitely a lot better than he started it, but will he be able to do it for 38 games or the vast majority of that? Will Gabriel Jesus, will Trossard continue his form? Will Martinelli get back into form? These are unanswered questions. Defense, I know we can defend from front to back. Midfield, you get Merino. I think we're starting to get a bit cool in that regard. But once you're starting to look at and talk about trophies, the conversation starts to shift. DG, sorry to change the subject, but did you see the boxing Olympics female fight between a man versus, I think you can't even say female again, woman? I mean, the world's gone mad, in it. Men should be fighting men in a boxing match. Women should be fighting women in it. That is crazy. That's what I would say. If we get Eddie and Nelson sold, I think we might get a striker/forward. Probably, but I just don't think we're going to get both, but I hope I'm wrong. What age is Jesus, do you reckon he'll get better? Isn't he like 27 now, 26, 27? I don't think he'll ever be a prolific goal scorer. I think we've got to do what City did and just accept Gabriel Jesus for simply what he is. You can be a great squad player. You might score some vital goals if you score. It is what it is. The one, neither Kai Havertz or Gabriel Jesus are clinical, but the one thing I would say Kai Havertz has over him, I think Kai Havertz has more of a willingness and a want to get on the end of things in the box. What Jesus says is very different, and I do think he wants to score, but I don't think he's dying to score goals. I don't think he has that natural inkling to just get in the box, if I'm honest with you. I hope Mikel is seeing Jesus for what he is, not a striker. I'd love to see him play out wide and occasionally as a forward. As I said, first port of call for me would just be to sign a striker, but it's easier said than done. As much as we've been talking about Gyökeres, Romano potentially has put cold water on it. He has said, if there are more outgoings, there are some possibilities that Arsenal could add another offensive player. I don't think it would be an expensive player like Gyökeres. I think this is too expensive, but maybe a new winger, a different type of player who can provide fresh energy behind Martinelli and Saka. Fair enough. Apparently, Marseille will come back with an offer of 27 million euros plus bonuses for Nketiah. Also offer him a top 3 salary at the club. That's great, really. And you know what? 27 million euros. What's that about? 22, 23, give us a sell-on clause. We'll keep it moving. Allegedly, according to Romano, Marseille are working with Arsenal to agree a fee on Eddie Nketiah. Apparently, he's agreed personal terms. If they want to make you a top 3 earner, you've got Roberto De Zerbi. Marseille fans are crazy. It's one of the biggest clubs in France. You're playing in the top league. I don't know if they're if they finished in the European places. We'll say Højbjerg's name, but we won't say that guy's name because we don't condone what he did. But they seem to be making serious recruits. The Ligue 1 club have already agreed personal terms with the Arsenal striker, but are yet to find an agreement. So then there's nothing to talk about. You can agree with him what you want. If you can't agree something with us, then you're not getting it. Take it and run, broski. DG, out of these teams between Spurs, Man United, Chelsea, which player out of them teams do Arsenal need the most? Any news on Tierney? He's injured, so I haven't seen anything. Out of these teams between Spurs, Man United, Chelsea, which player out of them teams do Arsenal need the most? Man United, do we need the most? You probably need a winger, man. Like, you probably need a wing. You probably need one of their attackers. Like, if Arteta could get a trick out of Rashford, I wouldn't say no to that. But hey, if you could get Kobe Mano, like, we'd be lit. Kobe Mano, Merino, and Declan Rice. There's some good options. But hey, I think that's about it. Obviously, there's good players, but you said what Arsenal need. Chelsea, bring me Cole Palmer, man. Like, just immediate. Bring me Cole Palmer. Bring me Cole Palmer, really and truly. There's a certain central midfielder there that plays for Argentina, but he's racist, so I'm not going to say bring him to Arsenal. Caicedo will be decent for the squad. What other thing did you say? Spurs? It's not really a player Arsenal need from Spurs. Bring me Maddison. That's about it. Or even Son, really. Yeah, Maddison or Son, but that's a bait one, really and truly. Paid 4.8 for a year in wages and then selling him for 20 plus in a year overseas is great. I mean, just keep it moving, really. If we can make a profit and get players gone, it is what it is. He's apparently agreed a 5-year deal, and at 25 years of age, that's good from a Marseille perspective. I'm sure if I was Eddie, I'd be saying 4 years plus an option of another one. Destiny and Doggy would be decent, but the key word was need. I like Ndoggy, but pardon me, to have Calafiori, Tomiyasu, Timber that could all play there, I'm all for that. Of course, he's better than Zinchenko and Kivior at left back, but is what it is. Isaac and Coop Miners, we win the league. Going to take a lot more than that, but Coop Miners and definitely Isaac are more than welcome. Kulusevski would be decent backup to Saka. He's a baller. I like Kulusevski, but you're not going to score enough, and I don't know if you're really a savage or a quality player, though, and you have issues with injuries. Team Talk allegedly is saying Eddie Nketiah is close to joining Marseille after the club made an improved offer to Arsenal worth 26 million. 26 million, I'm for that. Can't we get 26 million plus, an extra 4 million in potential add-ons and a sell-on clause? Maybe I'm being greedy. It doesn't look like there's anything on selling Zinchenko at this moment. The transfer is described as imminent by Team Talk sources. Now, Team Talk could be wassing anyone. Me, I can make a fake account and say sources have told me. Who are these sources? But yeah, apparently Smith Rowe made it clear to Arsenal he wanted first team football as well. Smith Rowe is understood to still hold out hope of a call up to the England national team under a new manager leading into the World Cup 2026. We'd love to see it, Smith Rowe, man. Again, Gyökeres apparently has been deemed too expensive. So some reports are saying we're on bidding 60, 70 million and we have a willingness to get it done. Some are saying other things. If we sell Eddie, I don't think we're getting a striker. Unfortunately, see Trossard, Havertz, and Jesus playing there, unfortunately. I just think the striker would have to make sense. It would have to be like at the time when we was trying to go for Vlahovic or a few months ago where Sesko. I think the club have to really want that forward. I don't think it's enough to be a good player and just be somewhat convincing. By December, Arsenal will be halfway to the 9-year trophy drought, what Wenger went on. But hey, let's hope that's not the case. But to be fair, last August, did we not win the trophy? Yes, I am shameless. What happened to Zini to Bayern? Doesn't seem like they're, again, the market is still open, but it just doesn't seem like there's any tangibles really and truly. And I didn't buy those links purely because why was he being linked to Bayern Munich? Probably because he's cross paths with company. When's the mystery German player coming? You'd have to speak to the ITKs. Who is the mystery German? We've been linked with Kimmich, we've been linked with Sane, been linked with hella players. But seriously, Chelsea, Palmer, United, Mano, Spurs, unpopular opinion, but Richarlison, nah. Richarlison for what? Maybe if Kai Havertz wasn't here, maybe. Because that's the only good thing I can see you doing. I don't think he's a bad player. He's a shithouser, which I think fans would take to it. But nah, apart from you just being some sort of a target man and allowing David Raya to go long, it's not like the Richarlison for Brazil. Hey man, Eze deal has stalled with Tottenham. Let's run it up. Are we really going to see ourselves spending 60 odd million for Eze? He's more than welcome. That's indirect competition / backup on the left hand, right hand sides of our wings. He obviously can play as a 10 if something happens to Odegaard, and he obviously could play as an 8. Apparently, Tottenham have intensified their efforts to secure Pedro Neto from Wolves. Apparently, we are told that this is what it says. Spurs held further discussions on personal terms today after previously engaging in talks. As you know, he's previously been linked with Arsenal. The likes of Arsenal, City, and Liverpool have all been associated with the 24-year-old. We hear Arsenal are still very much interested in the left footer, with the Gunners keen to secure adequate cover for their, let's just say winger. They're using jargon there, Bukayo Saka. Arsenal have also looked at Nico Williams as an option for the wings, but Atletico Bilbao superstar has now decided to stay at Bilbao. Apparently, the Eze deal to Spurs has stalled. No clue why. Apparently, the player has a gentleman's agreement with Crystal Palace to leave. Now, I'm quite nervous in general when you see stuff like gentleman's agreement. What does that mean in business? Smith Rowe leaving. I rate it. Needs to go and play football. 40 mil plus for Eze plus Fabio Vieira sounds better than what you'd probably get. Really be good for Fabio because he played football. Arteta is allergic to strikers. He needs to stop that. If Pedro Neto is Saka backup, does he really need to worry about injuries? Injuries can happen at any time across anyone. Can play across all the front three. Plus, he's a scumbag / dog. Richarlison, good player, just unlucky with the coaches. He's not a terrible player, but how are you unlucky with coaches? I'm not convinced. I mean, that we've had Bearman. Nelson can play across the front three to a degree. Eddie can play in a couple of roles. Jesus can play across the front three. That like you being versatile don't mean anything. Him being the scumbag and having that kind of mentality, that's great. That's why the Spurs fans took to him. Arsenal fans will take to him because of that. There's nothing else that Richarlison's going to bring to the table. Seriously, like he might go on good goal scoring runs. When does that happen? And I know he's ended up at Spurs, but did Barcelona not bid 70, 80 something million, something crazy once upon a time? They should have sold him. Like Richarlison ain't going to do nothing serious at Arsenal. He'll probably score more goals than Gabriel Jesus, but again, is that really an accomplishment? I'm not too sure. Apparently, Leicester's attempts to sign Reece Nelson from Arsenal is not currently progressing, with the player being out of the Foxes' price bracket. Fair enough, people. And he's still being linked with West Ham and whatnot. Once again, Nico Williams is expected to remain with Bilbao next season. The player had intended to stay in order to allow him to play European football with his boyhood club. Romano on Aaron Ramsdale said, it's completely quiet now with regards to Aaron Ramsdale. There have been no new movements or updates for a while now, so we'll have to see what happens later in the window based on a goalkeeper's domino. If he does end up leaving Arsenal, then yes, guys, they do need one more goalie. You'd imagine we need another goalie already, really. Assuming Ramsdale stays, who's the third choice? Because Carl Hein has to go on loan, you know. Richarlison is a flashy Solanke. I think that's a bit of a disrespect to Solanke. If I'm honest, Solanke's probably better than him. Shout out to you, broski. It's good to catch you live. Even better to have you lot. DG, what's your FPL league called? I'd have to sign into my other laptop, but it should still be there. I think I need to press the renew button. Man said Barca were on drugs a few years ago. 80 million for Richarlison. I remember those Willian bids. See? Barcelona have been running themselves into the ground for a while. In relation to PSV's Bakayoko, apparently Brentford won't be able to sign him as he simply set his heights higher than that. Allegedly, he wants to play for a club in the Champions League. He cooked Kivior, which is not an achievement, but he's a player I like a lot, people. And if we needed someone a bit raw, someone that could be a rotation option, someone that Arteta can kind of mold, he'd be that. Apparently, he's got a 30 million asking price, so yeah, I do want to see what Mikel Arteta has had to say, if I'm honest, in relation to the press conference, because allegedly he spoke in relation to the transfer market. Maybe somebody lied to me. On learning, wait, is this? Yeah, this is it. On learning from previous seasons as an Arsenal manager, there are so many things. It's very difficult to answer that question quickly, but the team has to be constantly evolving and improving because the level is higher and higher. That's what we're trying to do. On himself developing as a coach, well, in many ways. First of all, being critical of yourself. So we need a striker. Analyzing what you do and the areas that you can improve and having better people around you. That's always the best. Listen, big up Liverpool, but it's not really relevant to us at the moment. The same goes for this, people. Well, no, this is actually in relation to Arteta. I think we're in a good condition. I think we played some really competitive matches, which Man United, Liverpool and Bournemouth did provide us with such. Today was a really strong test. I think we started the game fantastically well. I disagree, Arteta. If anything, it was good in the second half. We pressed high and then after it went down the toilet, I guess. I think after 6 or 7 minutes, we should be 2-0 up. I agree with that. We had some half chances. Then we lost control, especially with the two things that we didn't do well enough. And we allowed them to run in the transition, which is a really dangerous thing to do against them. I mean, you got Zinchenko against Salah. Like, a blind man could see that. And in the second half, we improved a lot and we deserved more. I guess I agree with that. But it was great, really difficult conditions to play, great crowd. And we got a lot out of it. So I'm really pleased. Big up the young players as well, people. On if there's concerns ahead of the new season, obviously we can improve. The game should have been very different if the first chance that we had, we scored, but that's the goal. It makes the difference when you're in those areas, in those spaces in the box, putting the ball in the back of the net. And we created a situation. We had another 2 or 3 big opportunities to go better, but we didn't, so we have to improve. There we have it. Arteta, but come on, we're better than that. Big up the record attendance in Philly. Again, shout out Liverpool's arrival. It's irrelevant to us. On California, he said we had to manage him. He had a very busy 48 hours before he took his flight and he joined us here. Then it was the jet lag. It's a lot of things. He hasn't trained with the team yet. And we want to build him up slowly to get to know him first. He'll have plenty of time to see him. We'll have plenty of time to see him. So that's, you know, if a man ain't trained and he's got jet lag and had a busy 48 hours, it was probably naive for us to expect our new signing to play. That just sounds like we need a striker. I think everyone can see on Kai Havertz getting on the score sheet. It was good to see him score a goal. I think, again, he's only had 4 training sessions and then he has to play in these conditions. But he's come again in good shape. He's prepared himself before he joined us and he looks good. Fair enough in that regards, people. What is this about? Odegaard has said we'll peak at the perfect time. What has the captain said? We always want to win when we play. It's pre-season, so it's not the end of the world, but it's disappointing when you lose. I think in the second half, we looked a lot better and we improved a lot. You especially, he's probably the best player on the pitch for Arsenal. I think it's been a really great week and a half. We're getting fitter and fitter, getting that sharpness back. I think we're getting ready. It's not the moment to be at our top level, but I think we're going to time it well and be ready when it kicks off. I think you'll only see the benefits of pre-season 5 to 10 games into the new season for every club, really. I feel good. I had a good summer with some good rest and also had the time to work for myself. I just think me and the whole team need to get that sharpness back from playing games, and I'm sure that will come with a few more games. So I'm happy. When asked on other stuff, he said, I think it's a good moment. Of course, you need to prepare physically, but also to come together as a team. We spent a lot of time together. So I think it's always been good for togetherness and to get to know each other even more and to come even more together as a group. It's always brilliant when you come here and you see all the supporters we have here. It's massive. I'm really happy to see that. And it's fun to play here as well. So it's just a shame that we couldn't get the win today. I think it will be good to get back home now, and I can't wait to be at the Emirates again, and we'll see all the supporters back home. I'm excited to be back home. Fair enough, man. We warmed up in the second half, but it's too little too late. The only compliment I would say is at least it happened in pre-season. You do that against Liverpool in the league, then you're not getting any points. At 6:15, so in just under an hour, people, I'm actually going to be live with Gooner Lee. I'm sure he's going to get on to me for Smith Road leaving. You know, if you give it, you got to take it. Pause. Again, for extended Liverpool thoughts in relation to that, I did drop a reaction vid. And what is this final tab? I did a condensed vid with some extended thoughts in relation to Mikel Moreno. So that's all of that for you lot there, folks. Too little, too late. I hear that. Need to take our chances, simple, and create some chances, because second half, it was a weird one because I feel we had some more clear-cut chances to exploit from Liverpool in the first half, and we weren't really good. I think the second half, we had a lot of domination. We had them camped in their own half, was working it side to side, some great switches of play. I do think when Lewis Skelly came on and Trossard and all these guys, there was a bit more. To be fair with you, I think Zinchenko took more authority on the ball in the second half for all his faults. But what really did Kelly have to do? At the end of the day, you've got to create chances, you know. Converting them is one thing, but we've got to create them. Don't know if we try and form Setford into becoming the backup keeper for Raya. Is he ready for that? I'm sure he'd be on it. Getting savaged by Harvey Elliott isn't for everyone. If only Smith Rowe wasn't running from the grind to Fulham. I mean, he's running to Fulham to play games, man. I mean, are we gassing up pre-season? That's crazy, man. Martinelli couldn't score any goals last season. He managed to do you lot at the Emirates. Nelson did you lot in the Premier League game. Harvey Elliott ain't done nothing against us. All I remember him celebrating like he won the bloody FA Cup at Old Trafford. And what happened against United? Stop all of that. But Liverpool fans, get excited, man. It's all banter. I got a glimpse of that horseshoe football against Liverpool. Think we've got a problem with creativity. We don't have killers up top either. I mean, we can't read too much. It's about getting minutes. We don't have our full squad available, but I'm not a fan of Kai Havertz in midfield. Zinchenko's a liability, as we know. I don't think Partey or Havertz were terrible. I don't think they were amazing. We had a makeshift defense, toothless in the final third. Can't really be surprised we didn't beat them, really. And to be honest with you, as much as I'm bantering Andrew, big him up, that second assist, was it his second? I just think it's his second. Whichever one where Harvey Elliott's looped the ball into Fabio Carvalho, that we got sourced. I really wanted them to take Diaz from my club, but someone over there has sense not to bid. Why aren't Liverpool fans convinced on Diaz? We need a winger and a clinical finisher, and we have to be sharp in front of goal. Any opportunity has to lead to a goal. Andrew, I don't think we could score every opportunity, but I do think we could be a lot more clinical. And I think fans can lie to themselves and say we don't need a forward. Look at that December period. We could have had a striker and not scored, but imagine definitely one of the biggest games where we lost. I'm sure we lost to West Ham at the Emirates. If we had a striker, that's 3 points. And we all know if we had anything from 3 to 4 to 6 points on the board, last season. Different conversations. History is made. Unfortunately, that's all make believe. We can only deal with the reality, and the reality is we didn't do such. Diaz is a scrub. Harsh, man. To be fair with you, I don't think, the Darwin Núñez, Diaz, and Jota, they've all had mixed success and they're all good players, but I don't think they're gonna ever be on the same level of when you saw Firmino, Salah, and Mane. FIFA goal through the legs of Carl Hein. Carl Hein, the minute he's back in England, you need to go on loan. Immediately, you need to go on loan. You need to go and play men's football. I mean, from a selfish point of view, if you want to stay and be third choice, great. But you need to go League One, Championship, play real football and solidify yourself, because he's an internet. He's actually an internet. We've actually got 3 international goalies. Ramsdale, David Raya, and him. He plays more for Estonia than he has in a meaningful game for Arsenal Football Club. And realistically, he's only playing because he's significantly more experienced than Tommy Setford, then Rojas, then Nordgaard. So, yeah, man. They don't make them like Ronaldo, Henry, and Messi and them, man, anymore. Never going to find them. Arteta has something for goalies. How can a Liverpool left winger be ranked 83 in the Prem for creating chances last season? I mean, you can't read into stats, but boy, I just think it's Diaz's end product, man. I think I guess from what I see, he's a good player. He obviously can score goals, but I think there's an element of flattering to deceive. And I think we're quite fortunate that Jota hit the post. We're actually quite fortunate because I think the scores, it should have been like 5-2 Liverpool, if I'm honest. I think we definitely should have taken advantage of what Arteta said with those half chances. I think Jota should have had 2 goals because there was that one that hit the post, but also he shanked a shot as well. Salah could have had a couple if Salah really wanted it. Diaz is the biggest eye test merchant. But again, a lot of people are fooled by, stepovers and things of that ilk. It seemed like Diaz was going to go Barcelona at one point. It seems like they've gone cold, if I'm completely honest. Riley, big up you for resubscribing with Amazon Prime. So, yeah, people. I don't want to bore you lot, dull people, so I'm going to let you get out of here. The good news is I'm back at 6:15. I'm going to have Gooner Lee. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to ask him his thoughts. It would be nice to hear someone else's thoughts. As usual, big up you lot for the support, people. Make sure you're checking out the rest of the content. Big up you lot on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. If you haven't subscribed or smashed the like button, make sure you're doing such. And on that note, peace.